I was in the hospital and I did suffer left side neglect for, I forget exactly how long, but I didn't acknowledge that I had a left side. Even when I would draw something, I would literally draw only the right side of the picture. So
Wow.
they told me to draw a clock, and I would draw one side of a clock. And they would say, "Yeah, what about the other side?" I was like, "What are you talking?" It wouldn't connect. It was like, "That's the whole clock," and it was literally just one side, which is really weird.
Wow.
The walking, the physical stuff came back a few months because I'm a very impatient person. Patience just never was never one of my virtues. And I wanted to, when I was doing outpatient physical therapy, I didn't just want to walk. I wanted to run. I didn't just want to run, I wanted to sprint. So I was very impatient. And my physical therapist gave me the best advice, and it actually saved my recovery. He said, "Look, you have to have patience, or you will forever be a patient."
This is Recovery After Stroke with Bill Gassiamis, helping you go from where you are to where you'd rather be.
Bill from recoveryafterstroke.com. This is episode 98, and my guest today is Joe Borges. Joe experienced a hemorrhagic stroke caused by undiagnosed high blood pressure. With Lauren Manzano, Joe is also the co-host of the Neuro podcast. This is a high energy episode, and I feel like I found my soul brother in Joe. We share a lot of the same ideas and passions, and both of us are motivated by our desire to make a difference to you guys, the carers and stroke survivors. Now, just before we get started, some time ago, I launched the Recovery After Stroke coaching. It's helpful for people who feel like they aren't getting the support they need once they are sent home from hospital. Especially in this time of coronavirus isolation, getting support to stay on track with your recovery has never been more important. So if you're a stroke survivor that wants to know how to heal your brain, overcome fatigue, and reduce anxiety, Recovery After Stroke coaching might be for you. If you have fallen in the cracks between hospital and home care and desire to gain momentum in your recovery and do not know where to start, this is where I can help. I will coach you and help you gain clarity on where you are currently in your recovery journey. I will help you create a picture of where you would like to be in your recovery 12 months from now, and I will coach you to overcome what's stopping you from getting to your goal. Right now, for everyone that's interested in learning what Recovery After Stroke coaching is about, you'll get a 7-day free trial to decide if it's the right fit for you. So take advantage of the 7-day free trial now by clicking on the link below if you are watching on Zoom, or by going to recoveryafterstroke.com/coaching if you are listening online. And now it's on with the show. Joe Borges, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for being here. I've been following you on Instagram for a little bit, and I'm starting to get more and more curious about you and the things that you do. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But right now, can you tell me a little bit about what happened to you first, back then, like the stroke?
Okay.
Yeah, the stroke.
Oh, like how I had my stroke.
Yeah.
Okay, so in August 4th, 2016, I suffered a major hemorrhagic stroke,
Mm.
high blood pressure induced. I had no idea that I had high blood pressure. I just thought that I had migraines. So migraines ran in my family. And I was just like, oh, I guess it's just my turn. Turns out it was just unchecked high blood pressure. So
Wow.
very thankful I made it, because from what I understand, I probably shouldn't have.
Mm. So did you have other than those headaches, those regular headaches that you got that you described as migraines, did you have any other sign leading up to the actual stroke?
Oh
Or
yeah,
the,
for
yeah.
sure. Basically all the stuff that the doctors say like look out for, I had. I grew up very poor, so we didn't necessarily go to the doctors. We basically just dealt with it, or it got bad enough when we went to the emergency room. There was like no in between. I didn't even know honestly what urgent care was up until about 2 years ago. So I had incredible neck pain, and from what I understand, you shouldn't. It shouldn't be for more than a day or so if you slept wrong. I had this intense, incredible neck pain for at least 2 decades, and the same thing with my. I had sore knees, so apparently that was a sign too. It was like, yeah, you have like this pain in your knee. I had old college basketball injury, and I was just like, oh, it's just my knees. It's just this is how it feels to walk. No, these were all telltale signs of my body saying, look, dummy, something bad's going to happen if you don't do anything different. And unfortunately, I didn't do anything different, and something bad happened.
But in your defense, you're male as well. So like we have that thing that we do where
For
nothing really,
sure.
nothing really matters or is important or is relevant or is worth looking into.
Right. So yes, I'm a dude. Also, I was an athlete, so I was. Oh, I'll just rub some dirt on it, walk it off. It's fine. I had that mindset, and yeah, it caught up to me though, and then I realized, oh wow, this is not how normal people. I'm doing quote fingers. This is not how normal people function day to day. You shouldn't have 16-hour migraines 2, 3 times a week. You shouldn't be vomiting in the shower because another headache hit. And that went on for a solid, I'd say, 3 to 4 years. That was happening every single week, 3, 4 times. I'm suffering debilitating migraines, and it was my body giving me warning, and I completely ignored it.
Yeah, man, that is so bizarre though, because that was your normal. And that's the thing that I had my normal, and my normal was overworking and overdoing all these things and not paying attention to any of the signs and making up my own narrative as to why all these things were happening to me.
Yes.
When the numbness from, because I had a hemorrhagic stroke as well, when the numbness went from my little left, my big left toe to the entire left side of my body, I was arguing with the person telling me to go to the hospital because I was telling them, man, I can't go to the hospital because I've got to work tomorrow. And if I go to the hospital, you know what's going to happen? They're not going to let me out. And I'll be there the whole weekend and I'll go to work. Like, it's just numbness.
it's
I can't feel my left
it's
side. So what?
funny. It's funny how you justify these things, especially at the time where like everything you were doing at the time, that was the most important thing.
Yeah.
Nothing else mattered. But it's funny how a stroke, it'll rectify that. It'll let you know what's truly important. I was when I know the second the vessel burst in my brain, I remember the actual split second because I suffered migraines forever. This was like the migraine of all. This was like the Michael Jordan of migraines. This was just like the peak. This was it. And it was right up here, and I couldn't even focus. And my girlfriend, she's a musician, and she had a show, and I was there. Her dad just so happened to be in town too, so we went to the show, and from the parking lot to the show, it burst. I was having trouble walking, and I was having trouble focusing, and I felt it. And if you've ever been a dumb kid like me and you put like a key in a socket, there's like an electric current that goes through your finger all the way up through your arm, almost to your body. I felt that feeling in every fiber of my body and everything. So what's funny is for a split second, the migraine went away. I was like, oh, yeah, that felt good. And then a second later, I completely almost forgot how to walk. My body felt like jelly. And I said something that was alarming to my girlfriend's father, where I said, I feel like I'm learning how to walk again. Because I did. I felt like a baby deer just learning how to walk. And this is, so you said, me being a male, it gets so much worse. I looked horrible. So they're like, well, maybe we should just go home. And I'm like, no, no, no. I want to see her perform. Like, let's do this. I get there. First thing I do, order a beer. That's a great idea. And then I was like, man, this headache, it's just not really going away. So something that you probably just shouldn't do, period. I was like, maybe I'll just take an aspirin because aspirin and alcohol go together great. So I had an aspirin, I had a beer or two, and then I just dealt with it. And then after the show, we're on our way home. And well, how are you feeling? Should we go to the doctor? I'm like, no, 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 I'm fine. I'm fine. And I'm almost insulted that people are worrying about me, telling me that I should go to the doctor. I dealt with it. I ended up throwing up, and I was throwing up. Basically, I was throwing up blood, and I had a burger, so it was just no, no, no. I'm throwing up the red meat. That's what it is. Again, I'm justifying what these things are happening. And my girlfriend's worried about me, or dad's worried about me, and I'm starting to do weird things. Where she was teaching a vocal lesson the next morning because this went through the night, and I was just throwing up nonstop. And I was in the bedroom, and she's like, "Okay, well, go lay down in the living room, do the vocal lesson, and then hopefully you'll feel better." And she came out, and I was standing in the kitchen, and then she said, "Well, I thought I told you to lay down in the living room." And I said, apparently not in a very nice way, "I am in the living room." So she was like, "Oh, something's wrong," because I was
Oh,
just standing in the kitchen like a lunatic.
wow.
So her dad made a few calls, talked to her uncle who had like a brain thing, and he's like, everything you're describing, he called 911 immediately. And I resisted the entire time. I don't remember any of this.
Yeah.
From the moment I got home, I don't really remember much for the next like 2 months. But
Wow.
apparently I wasn't very nice. So that sucks.
Yeah.
I was pretty mean, and I was very resistant into going to the hospital.
I think we need to come up with a new T-shirt. Somebody that says, "I'm such a freaking idiot. I'm so stupid that it's a miracle that I'm here. Like, is there possible for us to create, to collaborate and create something? I'm that stupid, but I made it somehow. Like, it's a miracle. I don't know, you know?
You know what? That might be the next Neuro Nerd T-shirt. That definitely seems like it has legs. I would wear that daily.
Man, that's hilarious. So what happened then? Like, learning how to walk again. What was all that stuff in your future? What happened?
So here's what's crazy about my stroke. So you're familiar with hemorrhagic strokes, and the survival rate is low. We are some of the luckiest people in the world,
Mm.
and so the people that make it, that actually survive, which is very few, their physical and mental deficits are severe. I am a walking miracle, has been told to me from several doctors, neurologists. Recently, wait, let me say this right because I always say it weird. My girlfriend didn't marry her brother; she officiated her brother's wedding. So she at the wedding, there was two people that worked in the neuro field. They knew all about me, and I walked over to introduce myself, and they were looking at me like I was an alien. They were just really like focusing in. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I was like, hey, is everything okay? And they're like, but you're walking and talking, and you're at full motion, and you're cognizant, you're here. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, that shouldn't be. I was like, oh, okay. So it just like hammers in how serious it was and how blessed I am to be here as functional as I am. Physically, I didn't have very many deficits. I suffer from tremors in my right hand, and so I was sloppy anyway, so that's not a big deal. All of my stuff is basically cognitive. It's memory loss. I suffer from short-term memory loss, which is the worst. But that's about it. You know, I'm working on that every single day. The hand is getting better. I went to occupational therapy for about 2 to 3 years. I was in the hospital, and I did suffer left side neglect for, I forget exactly how long, but I didn't acknowledge that I had a left side. Even when I would draw something, I would literally draw only the right side of the picture. So
Wow.
they told me to draw a clock, and I would draw one side of a clock. And they would say, "Yeah, what about the other side?" I was like, "What are you talking?" It wouldn't connect. It was like, "That's the whole clock," and it was literally just one side, which is really weird.
Wow.
The walking, the physical stuff came back a few months because I'm a very impatient person. Patience just never one of my virtues. And I wanted to, when I was doing outpatient physical therapy, I didn't just want to walk. I wanted to run. I didn't just want to run, I wanted to sprint. So I was very impatient, and my physical therapist gave me the best advice, and it actually saved my recovery. He said, look, because I don't like doctors. I don't like going to the hospital. I just don't, it's not my thing. And he said, look, you have to have patience or you will forever be a patient. And I was like,
Wow.
oh,
That's
that hit me. That like stuck to my soul. So ever since then, I have, more patience than I've ever had in my life. And I think it's helped me get to the point that I'm at right now. I did physical therapy for 2 years, and I did occupational therapy for about 3.5 years. I just stopped that recently. And it's weird because, it's part of my rhythm. And I think I would think, I don't want to speak for you, but like routine is kind of everything for a brain injury survivor. And once that routine was broken, I just went into panic mode. So I had to figure out like a whole new routine. But I'm working at it. I'm work in progress, just like the rest of
Yeah, that routine thing is interesting because I did enjoy the routine, but then it got too much. There was 3 visits a week to therapists, and then there was other appointments, and I was like, freaking hell, man, this is taking up so much of my personal time. Like, I want to do other stuff, and I don't want to do that anymore. And I remember one of my last sessions at outpatient occupational therapy, like I said to the guys, like, with all due respect, like, you guys are sacked. Like, I'm not interested in coming here anymore. I'm taking responsibility for the rest of my recovery. It
it.
takes too
Amazing.
long. It takes me an hour to get here. And then I've got to be here for an hour. And then I've got to go out home for an hour. My whole day's wasted, It's forget
Right.
about it. And that was a turning point for me. And and I hadn't completely fully recovered, but I achieved the last thing that I wanted to achieve, which was to feel comfortable about running, and not a
Right.
marathon, just across the road to get away from cars, when I'm
Oh
crossing
yeah.
the road. And when I achieved that, I felt like, all right, now I feel safe to get back out and to be on my own, going for a walk or wherever. So I sacked them, and they were very pleased, and I was really excited because now I had time to myself again, And that's what I did. I started to put more time into my projects and my passion. And this is kind of how the podcast emerged. And then, um, and then I just found myself doing everything around my podcast and coaching people and doing all that kind of stuff. And there isn't a routine around that, but there is more time for me. And for the first time, I've been able to create time for me, So that's kind of
That's
how I do
amazing.
it.
That's absolutely amazing, and I love how the impatience kicks in. It's just taking too long. Like, I want to do it on my own. That's amazing though, that you actually took responsibility and you stepped up and did it. I literally just followed what was said because my significant other, my much better half, she was like, okay, so this is what you're gonna do, and I was like, okay, I'm not even gonna argue. So I listened. Basically, I'm gonna be like the perfect husband. Yes, honey, sure, whatever you say. It did help too that I wasn't very functional getting out of the hospital. And again, patience was forced upon me. So I had to use a cane when I got out of the hospital. Now, that cane was the bane of my existence. I hated it. I didn't realize this until going to therapy, but like, I'm very vain. I have a lot of vanity. And I didn't want to, I was like, I played college basketball. Like, I'm not going to cane. This is ridiculous. So I'll do a quote, I would forget my cane at home, and then we'd be out and, just be like, well, where's your cane? I was like, oh, damn, I forgot it again. So I just never wanted to use it. And the one time, because for the first few months when I was at home, I had Joe sitters. I would never be left alone. So police would go, she would have a show, and I felt like a little kid. She would be like, okay, so Melody's going to come over, okay? And and I'm like, oh, okay. She'd be on the phone. I would always have to have somebody with me because she was really afraid that something bad was going to happen. She absolutely should have been, because the first time that she like left me alone, I completely didn't listen. She was like, use your cane. You need to get something to drink. You need to use the restroom. Use your cane. I was like, okay, I promise. I didn't use it. As soon as she left, threw the cane. I'm not going to use this thing. About 10 minutes later, I went to get something to drink out of the kitchen. And when I say I fell terribly, I fell so bad. I fell back. And I just remember being on the floor, looking up at the ceiling, thinking, how did I get to this point? Like, what happened? But then I realized, wow, I really do need this right now. It was one of those times where I realized, hey, I have to accept that this is where I am right now, or I'm just going to be stuck here forever.
Yeah.
So I realized I need my cane right now. Now that I have accepted that, what can I do to get rid of this damn cane because I hate it? So that I started to recover a hell of a lot faster after that.
You should have got one of those pimped up canes, one of those ones that like some dude, dressed in a massive overcoat, that's purple or something would wear,
You know what? You know what I needed? I needed one of the pimp canes with a big hat with a feather sticking out of it.
Hello.
I think that would have been it, and maybe like platform shoes. That would have been the look.
Those guys, they just rock that cane, You needed to get a different mindset about what your cane was doing. You should have had it as an accessory, not as a walking tool.
You know what? See, that's a great way to reframe. I've reframed so many things now. I wish I would have reframed it back then, because I would have gone, oh yeah, I had a major hemorrhagic stroke and it turned me into a pimp. That would have been such a great thing to do.
I like the fact that you had to fall over and probably nearly smash your head open again to realize that this is the time for me to just relax and just rethink things and do things differently. I had a fall as well at home when I was left alone. Kids were at school. My wife went to work and I was sitting on the couch, and I got up on my left leg instead of my right leg. I got up, I was on my feet, and then I was on the ground. And then I smashed my ribs on the armchair, on the arm of the couch on the way down, and I was sore for about 3 or 4 days. And I didn't tell my wife because I probably would have got in trouble like you. And then that made me take a different approach and pay attention to my leg when it's on the ground. So to this day in the morning, it's been now November 2014 was my surgery. So it's been a fair amount of time. We're coming into 6 years. I look down. I make sure my foot is on the ground, especially before I get out of bed. I give it a couple of taps, and then once I know that it's there, then I get up and walk off. I do that.
Your new rhythm.
yeah, it kind of wakes up. It gets it gets kind of going, and then it's good to go for the majority of the day.
That's amazing. Like I had to do different things. I don't know if you had this. When I got out of the hospital, I hit my head more than I hit my head in my life.
Yes,
Getting into cars, I would slam my head. I don't know what happened. I just turned into like a bumbling fool. I
yes,
never hit my head beforehand, but now that I have a head injury, a
yeah,
giant hole in my head,
yeah.
I'm hitting my head on everything. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's some kind of a magnetism thing. So I would find that when I'd go to the shopping center, the shopping mall, I would get knocked into by more people than ever in my life. We're talking about 3 weeks out of surgery, sorry, 3 months out of surgery, again, fresh scar, all that stuff, and then just people running into me all the time, and me trying to work out, like, how did I become magnetized to every single person who's not paying attention to where they're working right now?
I'll tell you why. And forgive my language for a second. People are dicks. People don't really pay attention to what's going on in front of them. Unfortunately, they have blinders on, and it's all about like what they're doing, getting from point A to point B, not realizing there are other people around.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Look, it's been a really interesting experience. That interaction with other people in the way that we're chatting about it is something I haven't really contemplated much. And and yeah, it was really really difficult to try to find myself in a place where I felt like I was safe. And I kind of did the whole, looking around the place, making sure that nobody was coming from out of nowhere to bowl me over, because I really can't think about like my head getting hit. I just really, it makes me cringe, like thinking about it even.
If I think back about it, I probably should have had a helmet on. I probably should have just been the boy in a bubble just to make sure I had people away from me. It was intense. Also, there was an incident at the hospital when I was there, which resulted in a really gnarly case of PTSD. So, like noises and certain things would set it off, especially in public. Then I would have like these little freakouts, which on top of everything else, recovering from a brain injury with PTSD, oh my gosh, recovery was a nightmare. But we're resilient. I honestly think us brain injury survivors are the most resilient people in the world.
Yeah, and you have to be, because it's an ongoing recovery. It's not something that you do and it's just over. This is what surprised me more than anything is, and I've said on a few
Yes.
episodes, you see somebody in a wheelchair, and I used to think the only difference between me and that person is they're not walking. Man, what a naive way to look at a
Right.
person in a wheelchair. I mean, there's so much going on underneath that
For
I had
sure.
no idea to. They could be having, spasticity. They could be in pain. They could be, you know, there's so many things. And I just used to see them and go, well, the only thing they can't do different is walk. Like,
Right. It's amazing what a brain injury and a stroke, how much perspective it gives you, and how it changes you. It changes you. What's funny? I wouldn't. People ask me, "Oh man, don't you wish like things were normal?" And I'm like, "No, this helped. I would not change a thing. It's actually helped me become the person that I think I always wanted to be. I'm like a better version of myself. I'm Joe 2.0. Like this is like
If you've had a stroke and are in recovery, you'll know what a scary and confusing time it can be. You're likely to have a lot of questions going through your mind, like, how long will it take to recover? Will I actually recover? What things should I avoid in case I make matters worse? Doctors will explain things, but obviously because you've never had a stroke before, you probably don't know what questions to ask. If this is you, you may be missing out on doing things that could help speed up your recovery. If you're finding yourself in that situation, stop worrying and head to recoveryafterstroke.com, where you can download a guide that will help you. It's called 7 Questions to Ask Your Doctor About Your Stroke. These 7 questions are the ones Bill wished he'd asked when he was recovering from a stroke. They'll not only help you better understand your condition, they'll help you take a more active role in your recovery. Head to the website now, recoveryafterstroke.com, and download the guide. It's free.
the best version of myself that I've ever been. And I also think that we have a little bit of a cheat code because we know what it's like to come this close to not being here.
Yeah.
So when I think about the things that I stressed out about prior, when I see people get stuck on these really just ridiculous things, I'm like, wow, why are you focused on it? I'm like, oh, I used to be that. I think we know that's we can save our mental bandwidth, which isn't a whole lot most of the
That's
time,
it.
for the things that are truly important.
That's it. And from time to time, if you're like me, Joe, you might go back into an old pattern or two.
Yeah, oh, for sure. It's hard. It's hard. So I've learned over. So I'm going on 4 years in August. It'll be 4 years for me. And to talk about like, oh yeah, all that stuff. It's over. I already did that. The neuro fatigue. I had no idea that that's going to be something I'm going to be dealing with forever.
Yeah.
I didn't know because I didn't have it the first couple of months when I was home. Like
Hmm.
it wasn't that bad. I would read something, I'd have to take a nap because like it was just exhausting. But I was like, as soon as that was over, I was like, oh yeah, that wasn't too bad. But everybody warned me the neuro fatigue, the brain fog, like it's a thing. I was like, all right, cool. I didn't have an episode for it was something like 7 or 8 months. And in my head, I'm like, "Psst, no big deal. I went through it. And then after 7, 8 months, oh my goodness, it came back with a vengeance. And I was taken aback. I was not expecting it. And then the more and more people that I spoke to, there's this one woman, she had her stroke, I think it was around 13 years ago. And she said, I went 6.5 years with no brain fog, with no neural fatigue. And then she
Wow.
said, after 6.5 years, it came back nonstop for about 2 months. And she's like, it's just the weird ebb and flow of the way our brains connect, you
Yeah.
know? I
There's
was
a
like,
lot of
that's,
there's a lot of things going on with neurofatigue, and what a lot of people don't realize is a lot of it sometimes has to do with the thyroid gland, because I had a thyroid gland issue at the same time that I had the brain issue. So one of the situations was I was trying to work out, was the neurofatigue as a result of my thyroid, or was it as a result of the brain injury? And I was going through this process, right? And then eventually, after about 2.5 years after my surgery, I had thyroid surgery. And then the neurofatigue went through the roof. And I realized that it was the
mm,
thyroid that was making my neurological fatigue even worse. So if you have uh, a bad couple of months and your thyroid's under pressure or under attack,
mm,
it may not be the brain, it may be
right.
another part of your body. And it's a really complicated thing because people just put it all in the same place. It's neurofatigue, I've had a stroke, they make the assumption. And the other thing that can cause neurofatigue is adrenal gland issues. So some people might have overactive adrenal glands, then they crash, and then the neurofatigue kicks in. And for some people, it's even actually eating shit foods like gluten, dairy,
Yes.
alcohol, that kind of stuff, because that creates a slowdown in the metabolism, and therefore the brain can't get the energy that it needs, and that it makes matters worse. So I've seen a lot of people who have improved their neurofatigue, and they've been able to become more able to do more as
Mhm.
the months progress and the years progress, and then they have their slumps. And I'm a perfect example of that, because I have some really, really good days and really, really good months. And then I have that, what I call now, that amazing signal where my body says, dude, go and rest. Your brain's going to stop working in about 3 minutes and you're going to be talking gobbledygook. Just go and do nothing. And now I go, and that's how I manage it. Um, but my day normally, I start to peter out. If I've had a good night's sleep, I start to peter out at about 7, 8 hours on the go.
Okay. I am I get yelled at constantly that I don't sleep enough.
Yeah,
And I know I'm gonna say it and I'm gonna get a look. I'll comfortably get maybe about 5, 6 hours of sleep.
yeah.
And so my bedtime normally will be about 2, 3 in the morning. And then like I never wake up later than like 9 to walk my dog. And I got yelled at for years by my occupational therapist, by my physical, like I just get yelled I get yelled at by people around the world, like, Joe, what are you still doing up? I have this sickness now. I have this illness where I need to connect and help our community. It's something that I honestly feel that it's one of the reasons that I made it back. I feel it's my purpose. I feel it's like my meaning. And there are people around the world, and I'm talking to people in Macedonia. I'm talking to people in Singapore. I'm talking to people in Australia. Oh, I have a lot of people I speak to in Australia. And it's like
Yeah,
2, 3 in the morning. Like here, it's late. Over there, it's like bright and early.
yeah,
And it's just something that I have in me that I need to do because I know what it's like to feel isolated and alone. even though I've had, my significant other who's been incredible through all this. I've had, good friends, my family, and not really so much. But, I've had people here every step of the way. But unless you've been through it, you don't know what it's like. It's the loneliest, most isolating feeling in the world. And I never want anybody to feel that way. So I want to make sure that I connect with as many people as possible, help them along the way.
That's an awesome reason to exist. That's exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing. Like I got motivated being wheeled after surgery out of the hospital um, into rehabilitation, which I had to go, through patient transport in an ambulance type thing. And that's where I had the idea to start the podcast. And I thought I'll tell people how to get beyond all the shit that I've been through. Now that I've had this journey, that'll
Yes.
help people, man. We'll be able to get people to move beyond where they are right now. And I made a post about it I spoke about it on one of my podcasts just a couple of episodes ago, where I spoke about I never want anyone to experience what I experienced and to take as long to get to where I got to, because they couldn't find us, or they didn't know that there was a shorter path,
Yes.
or something like that. So, like, I know what you mean, and I'm going to reframe it for you. If you're not well and healthy enough to do that, because you don't smoke enough
Yes.
smoke, if you're not happy and well enough to do that, you're not going to be able to do it for all those people. So, dial it down a little bit.
Yes, that's the perfect way to reframe it. It is like I have to make sure I'm good so I can help the masses. That is, and you're speaking my language 100%. I understand exactly what you're saying. You hit that point earlier than myself. I went maybe my first year of recovery lonely, sad, isolated, because I didn't have anybody to talk to. I didn't know that this amazing, beautiful community was out there because nobody shared it with me. I didn't know what to do. And the only other stroke survivor I met was at a physical therapy, and person was comfortably in their late 60s, which is that's cool, but like we can't really
Connect.
share a lot of experience life, like my current life experiences. I suffered my stroke at 39. I'm 42 now. Dude's clearly like he's lived his life, and not to be mean, it makes more sense that he had his stroke at his age. I needed to talk to somebody that understood what I was going through. It was randomly at a party. I was there and I was talking, I was sharing my story with everybody, and there was this girl, and she's just staring at me really intensely, like almost uncomfortable eye contact. And I'm telling my story, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, I'm here with my girlfriend. And afterwards, she came up to me and she was like, I understand everything that you're saying. She's like, I suffered a major concussion. It was around the same time I did, about maybe a few months before I did. And she's like, nobody understands. We went to get coffee once and we just talked. We explained what it's like to live with this brain injury, what it's like to function, what our new normal is. It felt amazing.
Yeah.
So selfishly, I was like, you know what? We need to do this more often. I was like, we should like schedule like a coffee date like once a week, and we should do this. Like maybe we should record it. Again, two selfish individuals, not for anybody else, strictly for ourselves. And then we decided to release it, and it's like, yeah, like let's do this thing, and it just kind of grew from there. And just the fact that there are so many other people out there like us blows my mind. And exactly like you said, I don't want them to wait and struggle. I want to help them get to where we are now faster. It shouldn't be a year. It shouldn't be 2 years. It should be immediately. You should get the help and understanding you need as soon as you have your stroke. I'm like trying to figure out a way to contact these people as soon as it happens, and I think if we keep doing what we're doing, we're I know I always say this, it sounds super grandiose, but like we're changing the world. We really are. We're just one survivor at a time. Because I say this a lot too. Individually, we can change lives. We can, with the people that we connect with, the people that we talk to. Together, as a group, as a collective, we can change the world. And I truly believe that.
I agree. I got challenged by some people that I knew about, what I'm doing and what I'm going to do and why all this happened to me, and I got challenged in a way that was woo woo, la di da kind of shit, the universe and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, how could this have possibly happened to me so that I could do what I'm doing now? What a load of crap. Like, this is random. It's not why it happened to me. And then just before, just before I had the stroke, the first bleed, just before I got to that stage, I had started to get my business to the point where it was doing really well. We had a property maintenance business, and I secured one of my biggest contracts the first time ever in my 7 or 8 years of getting this business up and running. And literally a week before everything was signed and the paperwork was done, I had this bleed. And my client contacts me and says, dude, where are you at? Can we get this work done? And I'm like, no, I'm in hospital, but I have a bleeding brain. Like, I don't know what that means. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do anything. So they canceled my work and they gave it to somebody else, right? And I was so
Right.
off about that. I was like, I've worked for 7 years to get to this point. Now I'm here and I can't do it. Don't tell me there's a good underlying reason why. It's a load of crap. So anyway, I continue to get challenged by these amazing people around me. And then it's eventually what kind of made me understand that, dude, like the money and all that shit that you tried to do to get to that point is what made you unwell and create the perfect storm to allow this bleed to happen to that point, right? So that's not where you want to be. Don't make it about the money, make it about something else. So then I started to reframe all of that and got to that point where I was able to really see it as a blessing in disguise. And then one day I got to the point where I looked back and I actually said, and I've pissed off a lot of people by saying this, I said that stroke was the best thing that's ever happened to me. And before anyone listening loses their mind and stops following me and starts sending us hate mail, in the context of expanding my wisdom, it is one of the best things that's ever happened to me. And it might be for you if you allow enough time to pass.
Yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And it reminds me, I don't have a lot of memories from the first couple of months after my stroke, but the one that I do vividly, my girlfriend, bless her beautiful, incredible heart. She once I was a little bit, I was awake and I was a little bit more cognizant of like where I was. She said, she leans in and she's like, this stroke is a blessing. And without missing a beat, I looked at her straight in her eyes and I said, I don't think you know what the word means. Because I'm in bed. I can't walk. I have a giant hole in my head. I don't know what's going on in my body. I need help doing everything. This is not a blessing. It took me a little bit of time, but I realized she was absolutely right. And at this point, and at that, it was about a year and a half, maybe 2 years later, I realized, I was like, you were 100% right. This was a blessing. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. I wrote a blog. I think it was my first blog I ever wrote, was the stroke that saved my life.
Wow.
Because it did. It didn't take anything from me. It gave me my life because it helped me realize I've been in survival mode since I was like 7 years old. You don't live when you're in survival mode. You survive.
Yeah.
Now, I have lived more life in the past almost 4 years than I have in the 39 years prior. And this, honestly, it is the best. It was an absolute blessing. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. And I would not change anything. Well, I might change a few things, but I wouldn't change anything because it got me here.
Yeah.
And I'm happier than I've ever been. I'm not just surviving. I'm on the verge of thriving. Like I'm truly living life every single day. And I'm doing my best to help everybody else, as many people as I can, along my way. Because I think I honestly believe that's why we made it. We made it not to complain, be bitter and angry and upset and get in the same patterns that we got in. I truly believe that we made it to truly live and help people along the way.
Yeah, I hear you, man. And I just got off a coaching call with one of the people that I'm helping through some of the stuff that they're going through with their stroke recovery. And she's not at that space yet. She's not able to say that yet. And it's challenging her. And she wants to get to that stage. But one of the things that she said today was, even though she has deficits and she's not as mobile as she would prefer to be, obviously, she's healthier than she's ever been, or she's really, really healthy. And that's one of the weird things that people don't realize, is that sometimes, not sometimes, for me anyway, stroke made me healthier than ever because I stopped drinking, I stopped smoking, I stopped doing all the stupid things that I was doing. And as a result, my health has improved, even though every single day I have numbness, I have balance issues, I bump into things. I have fatigue. Even though I have all of those issues, I'm healthier than I've ever been. So
That's
that's a
amazing.
really good underlying thing that I've been able to achieve as well, because I never focused on my health before. I thought I did, but the bullshit version of health, the one where if you go to the gym and smoke, you're still healthy.
Oh yeah. that's that's actually that's actually amazing. I'm actually really happy that you've done that. It's I have fundamentally changed everything about my life. Everything. The way that I eat, the way that I think, the way that I function as a human being. I meditate every day where beforehand I couldn't do it. I honestly I couldn't do it. I'm a recovering Catholic, so when I get alone in my thoughts, I go really dark really quickly. So I don't now though. Like the first thing in the morning I do every single day is I meditate. I meditate with my girlfriend, set my intentions for the day, and it's something that I've done almost every single day since I've been out of the hospital.
Yeah.
I eat healthy. I'm telling you, I ate so much garbage. One of my favorite things to eat pre-stroke was the McRib. That's not even food.
It's not
That's not
even a
even
real rib.
food. It's not even a real rib. It's shaped like ribs. Like they press it into look like it has like bones. It's so weird. It's not food. And it's funny because like the food that I eat now, it changed my taste buds.
Yeah.
I used to drink soda. I would drink more soda than I drink water. And now I don't drink soda ever anymore. The one time I think I had a soda, it was maybe like 2 years ago, and I was like, oh, it's just chemicals. Like this is disgusting.
Yeah.
My taste buds changed. I have more energy. I'm much more functional. I'm a lot sharper than I was, and I'm healthier. I'm down around 35 pounds because I was slowly killing myself. I was depressed. So I realized I turned to food for like happiness because I was miserable with myself. So I had the sugary drink. I had like the fatty food because it made me feel good in that moment. But
Emotionally.
what yeah, emotional eating. I was like, man, my day sucks, but like this McRib and soda, I feel great for these like 5 minutes. But then like I felt lethargic afterwards. Like I couldn't really function. I was killing myself. So now I'm a lot healthier than I've ever been. I hike every morning when I take my dog for a walk. It's again, I'm living more life than I've ever lived in my life.
Yeah, man. It's such a great thing to come from stroke. And I know that a lot of people are not there, and a lot of people are experiencing a lot more difficulties as a result of their stroke, vision problems, hearing problems, speech problems.
Yeah.
That being said, like you can still take a little bit of control back. And I think for me, more than anything, is that there's a lot of things in stroke we can't control, but we can control what we consume, and we can control how we start our day, how we think, and who we hang out with. And that gives power, and that gives support, and that gives healing and encouragement, and it gives all sorts of things. And in spite of the vision problems, the hearing problems, and the speech problems, if you can take a little bit control back, you will feel like a different person. That's my experience. Is that your experience? Is that how?
Absolutely, 100%. What helped me is I never had boundaries before my stroke. I didn't know what they were. So I just kind of like again, I didn't know how to make myself happy. So I was basically a passenger in other people's lives.
Mm.
I would want to help other people because my life was terrible. So I'm like, I'm going to help you. Now your life is good, so my life is good. No, I'm still miserable. So as soon as you're living your good life, it's on to the next person.
Yeah.
And I'm just like vicariously living through people. And specifically family, I just kind of like let them get stuck in this really toxic negative spiral, and I would just get caught in that, and it would make me miserable. But I would just be stuck there. I didn't know that I could just say no. I didn't know that I can walk away. So one thing that I have done is I've distanced myself from toxic people, and that has been one of the biggest things in recovery for me. It's been amazing. It's sad. So I describe it like this. We have evolved, right? You and I, we are now beautiful butterflies, flying high, enjoying life. Now, we used to hang out with caterpillars. We used to crawl around in the dirt. We can't go back to crawling around in the dirt.
Yeah.
So those caterpillars, they're going to have to evolve and join us
Yeah.
because we can't go back. So my family, unfortunately, they're still caterpillars crawling around in dirt, and they're mad that I'm flying high and I've evolved into a butterfly. So I still have hope that they're going to reach me and come one day. But I know one thing: I can't go back to crawling in the dirt. I just can't do it.
Yeah. And you got to lead by example. And sometimes that's difficult for other people to come on that ride. You do what's best for you. If you went back to being that guy that you were before, man, that's the guy that you were just before stroke. Like that's a dangerous place to be. That is not the
Very.
place you want to go back to. Whoever wants to go back to their life how it used to be before stroke, no, no, that's not where you want to go. That's a shit
It almost
place.
got you killed.
Yeah,
It's hard. The last conversation I had with my little sister, I love her to death, but oh my gosh, she would kill me. Um, is she was just complaining and complaining and complaining and stuck just where she is. And I was at that new place where I'm reframing everything, turning negatives into positives, focusing on my circle of control. If I can't control it, I can't worry about it. And I said something, and she literally yelled at me. Not everything is good. And without missing a beat, I looked at her and I said, that's true. Things are terrible sometimes, but not everything is bad. And as I choose to focus on the positive things in life because I don't want to get stuck in this negative spiral. And that's when I pulled away and I needed to like let my family crawl around in dirt until they're ready to evolve
yeah,
because they're stunting my growth. And it's really sad. But again, circle of control, I can't control them.
yeah,
I can't. I can only control me. And I still have hope that they're going to figure it out. I really, really hope so. But until then, I can't slow down my progress. I have too much to do with the second chance that I have. And I
yeah,
don't want to waste any more time.
yeah. I know what you mean. And with the and with what you're talking about, it's like it's how gratitude is important. Like there's a shit thing that's happened. It's a terrible time. We've experienced all of this loss, all of this, readjustment of our life. We almost lost our life, all the things that were important to us, whatever. What's good about it, though? Like, what's the one thing? If there was anything good about all this terrible stuff, what's the one good thing that you can be grateful about? Well, I'm grateful that I didn't knock my teeth out falling down when I fell. Like, that's cool. You know, all right, that's it. Just go run with that one. If you had knocked your teeth out, well, that wouldn't have been good. That would have been like adding salt into the wound. Okay, cool. So if you play that what's good about it game, or what could be good about it, if I let it be good,
Right.
then you can evolve and it could turn into a mind that is looking for the good in every situation, even if it's a bad situation, even if it's a terrible time, a terrible experience. And maybe you can't do it right away either. Maybe you can only do that in 2 weeks' time when you've had some time to reflect and get over it and whatever. But that's how I did my focus and how I sort of sharpened my mind, because
Right.
I could have focused on the fact that my dad had to drive me around and he's a shit driver. I could have had to I could have had to focus on the fact that I didn't remember who came to visit me and what my
Yes.
and what how to type an email and all those things, and it was like that was too many bad things to focus on. So what's good about it is, when I fell, I didn't break my ribs or knock my teeth out. That's pretty good.
That's a great way. It's a great way to reframe it. It's a great thing to focus on. So being the recovering Catholic, half glass, half full, half empty. So I used to think, okay, the glass is half empty and the other half is full of poison. I just had this really negative way of thinking. So
Shit.
I had to retrain my brain. My girlfriend, again, she has been incredible. Anytime I would get frustrated or upset or angry, she would literally, and it would drive me crazy. She would say, okay, now, does it feel better to feel angry and upset, or does it feel better to feel good? I'm like, what? I would get angry. I would get really angry. And then she would make me answer. And I'm like, feels better to feel good. And she's like, okay, so like, let's feel good. I'm like, I'm just being really angry. I'm going to feel good. She's like, just relax, smile, smile. Because like, it's been proven if you smile, you're in a better mood. So I'm just there angry, just smiling. Yeah. And so I'm like, but it made sense. Like it actually put me in a better mood, and it helped me reframe things. It helped me change the way that I think, and it helped me break the pattern of negativity that I've lived my entire life. And I hope that people out there will do the same thing. Now, I'm not saying there's this thing called toxic positivity that I'm just finding out about, and I think apparently I was toxically positive back in the day
Yep.
because I would just be positive because I was afraid of the negative, as opposed to like, I'm just positive because like I'm in a good place. That
Wow.
shook me when I really thought about that. Am I genuinely positive, or am I just afraid of the negative? So I think right now at this point in my life, I'm actually super positive. I'm happy to be here. When you said that you're happy that you didn't fall down and smash your teeth, how amazing is that? And if we want to break it down, just like bare bones, how amazing is it to wake up every single day and take a breath?
Yeah.
How beautiful is it? The one thing I will always remember, and it's the first day that I left the hospital on the ride home. I looked out the window. I was like a dog. Like, a dog sticks his head out the window. I was like that. And I looked out the window and I saw leaves, wind rustling the leaves of a tree. And I broke down in tears. Even now, I'm almost on the verge. It was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. And it was so simple, but it meant everything to me. So no matter how dark things get, how upset I get, how frustrating it is, I remember that and it takes me back to, wow, look how far I've come. I'm here. I'm here. I'm functional. I'm walking. I'm talking. I remember a lot of things, not everything. But I'm here, and that's a big deal. And I want to stay in that zone because, just like Felice says all the time, it feels better to feel good than to feel bad, And I want to feel good. I think that's why we made it back.
Yeah, I agree. I like to tell people who uh who I have conversations with about feeling angry or sad or upset or emotional, like, have the courage to stay there for a little bit, just so that you
It's
can
hard.
go through it. So just allow yourself to have those experiences, so that when you're over and done with them, when you've accepted that they're just a temporary thing, you're going to move to the next phase. Or when you move to the next
Yes.
phase, you'll know how good that phase is, because you've moved away from a phase that you've allowed yourself to observe. And if you don't want to observe it by fully experiencing it, do it a little bit distant. Like, become the third person, step out of yourself and observe
Brilliant.
yourself being cranky, and just get curious about how you're doing cranky and why you're doing cranky. And then change that and allow yourself to just, if like the butterfly, emerge from that cocoon of anger or whatever you want to call it, and see what's on the other side and get curious about that. And when you're there, again, step out of yourself and watch yourself experience joy and having fun and appreciating that. And then you'll have this third perspective, like this different perspective of how you interact with yourself. And if you can do that, you're going to be able to heal from the shit that we all
Yes.
carry with us, that becomes so much more amplified after a stroke if we've never dealt with it.
Right.
Nothing,
No, that's
nothing goes away, does it,
brilliant.
Joe? It
No,
just
no,
sits
it
there
doesn't.
waiting
It
for you.
doesn't. It's brilliant that you're removing yourself and you're viewing yourself. That's a great thing to do. I forever, so again, going back to being a recovering Catholic, I was taught, don't talk to people. You have a problem, shove it down. Just shove it down. Pretend, oh, okay, that worked for 39 years. And then my right basal ganglia exploded. So I process things out now. I'm able to talk things through. And I respect my anger. I respect my frustration. I respect these thoughts that I have. The trick is, and the biggest thing for me in recovery is, I don't get stuck there. And that's a trick, I think, for everybody. I tell everybody, if they're mad, if they're upset, and I wasn't able to do this today, and I did it yesterday, and now I can barely function. Like, people get upset, and a lot of times the first thing people will tell them is, "Oh, but don't be mad. You're here. You're alive. You made it." And like, yeah, that's great, but now we're disrespecting the feeling of anger and frustration. You have to respect all the feelings. So I tell people, be angry, be upset, be pissed off, break something, throw something, and then get over it.
Yeah.
Now that's the trick, is just not to stay there. My co-host, she helped me tremendously when I was having a pity party because I was having trouble with my hand. I was just really, nah, I can't do it. And she calmly, she's like, okay. She's like, have your pity party. She's like, be upset, be angry, and then tomorrow I'm gonna call you, and I don't want to hear this shit anymore. And I was like, oh, oh, okay. So I was upset, and then I let it go. And then I'm not perfect. It pops up again, but then you do. It's the rhythm. And I'll say this: I'm better more than I'm worse.
Yeah.
Like I handle it more often than I don't.
Yeah.
And look, we're all works in progress. We just have to want to be better. We have to respect our feelings, and we have to move on from them. Like, so be upset, be angry, but then leave it alone. Just don't get stuck there. Just don't get stuck there. And I know, like, for me, it's scary because I grew up so negative and in such like a really dark place that it feels good to feel that. So like when I'm around people who are like, man, everything is terrible, the world sucks, people are awful, And in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, everything sucks because it feels good. And that scares me that so quickly I can get sucked back into that. So I have to like really focus in on, okay, I can't be around this. I have to like either mentally take myself somewhere else or I have to physically remove myself from this conversation because I can't revert. I just can't. You know, I've worked too hard to get to this point to fall all the way back.
Yeah. Can I ask you, does it feel good or is it just familiar?
Familiar. So here's the thing. I thought about that. I'm like, am I that weird? Am I genuinely like really like? Do I feel good inside for this? It's like an old girlfriend. Okay, you guys broke up for a reason. But if you've been struggling for a while and you've been single for a while, and then you go back with a toxic girlfriend, you're like, oh, this feels so good. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. You think it does. It's horrible. It's toxic. It's violence. It's miserable, but it's familiar. So that's if you think it all the way out, if you think not just for this moment, if you really think it all the way through, it's just familiarity. It's not happiness. It's not joy. It's not a good feeling, you know. And I think I've finally hit that point where I'm like, cool, I get it. I get it. My new normal, my new good feeling is actually feeling good.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. And what a gift to get from somebody to say, have your pity party, go down that path for a little bit longer, and then let's not do that tomorrow.
Yeah, I would be lost without my co-host. Like Lauren has been such a huge help for me and me for her. Like we have bonded, and she is family, you know, and she's one of the few that can actually hit me up and say, hey, how you doing? I'm fine. She's like, no, seriously, how you doing? And I'm
Yeah,
like, I'm doing it. Then I just break down. I'm like, oh yeah, you get it. You get it. She's inner circle. Like she gets it, you know. And I think all of us need that, and it's that type of community that I want to bring to the masses.
yeah.
You know, I want everybody to feel that because everybody deserves to feel that, especially after what we've been
I agree, man. Tell me about the Neuro Nerds podcast. So, like, what is it about? And tell me about your co-host.
through. So the Neuro Nerds was put together out of necessity because I didn't know that this community existed. I was lonely. I was sad. I met Lauren at a party and she was talking about her concussion. We met for coffee and it was the most beautiful feeling the best feeling I had had since my stroke. And halfway through our conversation, I looked at her and I said, "Oh wait, like you're a nerd." And she's like, "Oh yeah, you have no idea," because she's a dance teacher. She teaches professional pole dancing. She is incredible. She's bodyguard trained. She is a freak of nature. She is such a strange, beautiful person. And you would never see her and be like, "Oh yeah, she writes fan fiction about Lord of the Rings." And she is the strangest, most unique individual I've ever met. So we decided just to start the podcast so we had an excuse to meet once a week and connect. So when we released it, we're like the neuro nerds because we had neuro injuries and we're both nerds. Not nerds, like we're like cool nerds. We're like the new rock stars, you know?
Yeah.
And so we come at it from a very different angle. A lot of things that I was looking at, people talking about stroke, it's always negative. It was so negative.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
I'm not saying, hey, let's talk about the positive side of stroke. I'm just saying we didn't make it back. Like, look, we can talk for days how terrible things are, the
Yeah.
fatigue, the stress, the anger, the pain. You know, we live that. Do we really want to talk about that over and over and over again? So we come at recovery from a different angle. We come at it from a very happy, fun. Um, we live to enjoy life, so we want you guys to come with us on this journey
Mm.
of enjoyment and fun. So we come at brain injury recovery through everything nerdum. You know, we talk about like our recovery through superheroes a lot. We're big fans of like the MCU. Me in particular, like my guy is Doctor Strange because I remember there was a scene in the movie where because he had his hands torn up, and I struggle with my hand. I struggle writing, and there was a scene where he's writing his name over and over and over again. It's just chaos. I was watching and I just broke down in tears. So we did an episode about like what superhero fits our recovery, certain things like that, you know. And it's been a lot of fun. So the Neuro Nerds, we are, I say it every episode, the Neuro Nerds, we're here to help. And we are genuinely here to help, you know? And it started out as two selfish people just doing it for themselves to improve our recovery. And it's turned into, we're now in over 40 countries, which I'm really, really proud of. And I'm looking forward to continuing to grow the podcast.
It is nuts how many countries you actually get out to. I'm at about 50 countries. Yeah, yes,
Awesome.
some of them has had like one download.
Hey, that
I don't
counts.
care.
That counts.
Yeah.
Is that download in another country? That counts. You know, right now you are life goals. Like that's we're 40 something and counting. So we're trying to catch up to you. That's such a beautiful thing. Like our message of, you know, post stroke thriving and recovery and the information that you're putting out, it's so valuable, not just to where you're at, but like the entire world. That's like such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and how good is it? Like I started selfishly as well. It was always going to be about me, and then quickly I realized it's had nothing to do with me. It's all got to do with all the other people who are contacting me saying, "Man, thanks for that episode. I really needed to know that. Thank you for
Yeah.
saying this, and thank you for interviewing that person." And it's like, wow. So I try to interview people and ask them what happened to you, and then I talk about the after. What happened after? How did what are some of the issues you had to deal with? How did you overcome them? That type of stuff. And I didn't realize that everyone who's had a stroke needs to have those conversations. And here I thought
Yes.
I was the only one. So that made it impossible for me to stop doing it. I just don't know how I'm going
Yes.
to ever stop.
Yeah, you shouldn't. So what's funny is before the stroke, I was part of like the anti-social network. I never really dealt with social media at all. I was so I'm extroverted when I'm out, but I'm actually an introvert. I would rather be at home, you know.
Yeah.
I just so happen to have this bubbly personality. So when I started, Felice, she was like, you know, you should tell your story and things you're doing with Lauren is great, and you start your blog. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do all this stuff, and I'm gonna help the world. I'm gonna do all this stuff. After about a week or two, the floodgates opened. People started reaching out to me. People started sharing their stories. People started every day, or people were reaching out. And I'm hearing this. It was a flood of emotion. And 2 weeks into doing the Neuro Nerds and my blog and everything that I was doing, I was overwhelmed. I
Yeah.
couldn't do it anymore. The day I was going to give up, there was a day where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I just can't do it because I just physically and mentally cannot do this. There was a woman that reached out to me. I won't say her name because she's like a very private person. Her husband, she said, Joe, I'm reaching out to you because my husband, similar age to you, and seeing your stories, seeing your posts, hearing your podcasts, reading your stories has given us hope. And I, even now, a little shaky, I broke down. And that night, the exact day I was done, I was going to take everything down. And because I couldn't do it, I slept and I woke up the next morning knowing that this is bigger than me. It's not about me. I'm not doing this just for me. I'm doing this for the people out there that need this. There are people out there that need to hear that it's going to be okay. There are people out there that need to know that I can do this. This person did it, so I can do it too. That need to know that they're not alone. So I will always be in debt to that woman and her husband because she got me on this journey. And just like you, I don't know how I'm going to stop this. And to be honest, I don't think I ever will.
Yeah. I felt really unwell for an amount of time, especially after the thyroid surgery and all that kind of stuff. So I took a back seat. I stopped putting episodes out, stopped connecting to people and reaching out to people, and I felt like there was something missing. I felt like, man, something's not right. I need to start doing something again. And it occurred to me that it was the podcast. So I slowly found a way to get it over the line and keep doing it. And I used to sneak it in to when I had a day off. And sometimes I would, because I was doing a job at some point, I was actually working for somebody else. I would take a sick day and I would stay home and do a podcast interview or whatever. I did everything that I could to just keep chipping away at it and keep getting it over the line and keep getting that next episode out. So, it's taken a heck of a lot of energy, but it's kind of like that passion project and that hobby that, one day the guy wakes up and says, you know what, I need to create a train set and I need to put it in my garage. And then before he knows it, he's got 10 sheds in the yard. There's a train going through all of them. It's running people over. There's explosions. Like I'm at that point, I'm at that point where it's going to next level, next level, next level. And I can't, it's a monster. It's got out of control and I love it. It's the best
Yes,
thing.
I'm so excited right now. Like seriously, you're speaking my language. I love that. I really, really do. It turns into almost an obsession,
Yeah.
not a negative obsession,
No,
in a very positive way, because what we're doing, it's bigger than us. It's bigger than you and I,
it is.
and I say it all the time. There's a friend of mine who just started a podcast and she was like, there's not very many people are listening. I was like, how do you know that? She's like, well, my numbers are low and nobody's really reaching out. I was like, how many people do you know that actually reach out to people?
Yeah.
I'm that weird person that like I'm constantly reaching out. Hey, I'm like trying to connect. I was like, but when you go to a store and they give you either on the receipt, it's like, oh, call and give like, how was the service? How many people really call and say, hey, I had amazing service, even if they've had incredible service?
Yeah.
They just don't have it in them. So that's why we have to do this. We don't have to do it for people like us. We do it for the people who don't have it in them to reach out and say, hey, I needed to hear that, and that's why I'll never stop. I'll always push. That's why it's turned into this obsession.
Yeah, it's beautiful obsession. I had somebody contact me from, and I'm at almost like at the bottom end of the world, like compared to where the US is and where New York is. And I had somebody contact me from New York and say, "Hey, I've had a stroke, and I'm wondering if you know any people in Manhattan that have had a stroke." And I'm like, "Yeah, I do. At least 3 people." What do you want me to put you in touch
Amazing.
with them? Yeah, I want you to put you in touch with them, please, so I can connect with some people. No worries. And then literally 2 days ago, somebody who was struggling with what they're going through in their stroke, who's in the UK, I was able to connect with them to another guy in the UK who is not a stroke survivor, but his dad passed away from a stroke, and it was on my podcast, and I was able to connect them to. And man, like, that is just insane that we can do that. And I don't know who's had a stroke down the street in my neighborhood, let alone what the heck's going on in another part of the world. But that's the power of podcasts. That's what it's able to
Yes,
do.
I feel that in my soul. There in California, I'm from LA, so like I don't have a lot of stroke survivors that I'm actually in contact with here. To be honest, in Australia, so many people. I've actually connected a couple of people in Australia. I've connected several people in the UK, in Singapore. As soon as you mentioned Manhattan, I was like, oh yeah, I know several people in Manhattan. You and I do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like I'm a connector. If I know where you are, who you are, I want to connect you with
That's
somebody else
yes.
because I know what it feels like. When I met my first stroke survivor in person, it was Bridget Chiavari. She's a photographer from Arizona. She's also batshit crazy. I love her so much. When I met her in person, I met her and her family. We were online and like we were chatting. Oh, I'm gonna be in your area. I was so nervous. Like my housemate at the time, I came out and he was like, are you wearing cologne? Like I sprayed so much. It was like, when you're nervous for your first date. And I was like, I put so much on. I know I'm nervous. Like I was just so nervous. But when I met her, she became instant family. And just like when I first met Lauren, I felt like I turned a corner in my recovery because there was other people like me, and I want that feeling for everybody.
Yeah, I agree with that instant family stuff. The connections that you can create in such a small amount of time is like never before. And like I feel that with you, and I feel that with most of the people who I interview, because they're kind of at that stage too. They're really seeking people who get them, understand them, and all those types of things. And it's never been better to experience a stroke as far as connectivity and learning
Yes.
and understanding and growth and not feeling isolated. It's never been better. And I'm blessed that it's happened in this time, and it's allowed me also to be a little bit creative and express myself in ways that I was never able to do before, and I never had an audience. And you know what I love the most about isolation is that all these freaking Alan DeGeneres and all these people who get paid $70 million a year or some crazy amount to do all these amazing shows that they've got studios and artists and graphics and all this crap, they all reverted to our method. They all came
Yes.
back to our method. Let's sit in front of our computer in our house and let's record a podcast episode. Come on, guys. You could do better than that.
It's a weird world we live in, it really is. And it's funny that this isolation has been, it's been intense. It's been very strange. It's been very intense, but it's also helped me not that you like, look, our fire burns out every once in a while,
Yeah.
it's our job to reignite it. And I think it's been reignited because I'm here, like I'm kind of an introvert. I would rather be here. If I had an opportunity, if I had a choice, I'd be like, I just want to stay home.
Yeah.
But the fact that I don't have a choice is kind of like messing with my head. And then it just gets me thinking, oh, if I'm feeling this way, how is everybody else feeling?
Yeah.
I have that need. I just have that thing. I have to reach out to these people. I have to connect with these people. I have to make sure that these people are okay and connecting with other people. So like it's been this really amazing, passionate thing that's reignited my flame for connecting our community.
Yeah, I agree with you. Isolation's tough for some people. For me, it was just familiar. I didn't feel like there was much of a change in my life. It was just, I've been here before. I haven't been able to go
Mm,
out before. I haven't been able to work before. So it was all kind of familiar and it didn't phase me too much. But then there's some people that are at that stage where they're getting rehabilitation and therapy and they're going out and about, and that stopped happening. And then that made it difficult because they were keen to do the rehab, to do all that stuff. So, this episode is for them. It's for every single other person who's ever been impacted by stroke. If they want to download an episode and listen to it, maybe they can get something from it and make them feel a little less, I don't know what, freaked out. So I love that there is more than one podcast that is being run for the same kind of purpose. And
mhm.
how good is it that if somebody wants to listen to a episode of Neuro Nerds, they can do it from anywhere in the world and it costs them nothing. That's even
It's so
better.
beautiful. It's
We
so
can do this
beautiful.
for them and we don't have to take any money from them.
It's amazing. I love that. I honestly do because I understand in recovery, a lot of stroke survivors we live on a very specific budget.
Mm.
We can't really just be shelling out cash to do these things. So this is a beautiful way to give back, to the community. What's funny is my podcast. I'm a pretty energetic guy. I didn't realize. My friend Bryony from Yorkshire, she said something about listening to a podcast. I was like, oh, better have been mine. She was like, no, absolutely not. I was like, wait, what? What are you talking about? And she's like, Joe, you're too much. She's like, I was trying to relax and rest. You're way too high energy. And I was like, oh, yeah, I guess so. I guess I am. So, just fair warning, I'm a lot sometimes.
Feedback is interesting, isn't it? I get feedback. I got feedback for one of my Instagram um, uh, IGTV posts that I did recently. And I walk around, I use my phone, I bring it to my face and I walk around sometimes. And the feedback that I got was from a guy who said to me, dude, it felt like you were trying to climb into the camera. And I thought, well, thanks for the feedback. I really appreciate it. It was the first time that I did a walking um, chat to Instagram. And, whatever. I'm sorry that it made you feel that way. Nobody else complained. But
Right.
it's okay that you don't feel comfortable with that because he's a stroke survivor. And it must have been perhaps the movement or something was overwhelming his senses and he couldn't deal with it.
Right.
And he felt the need to tell me. And I thought, awesome. Thank you for telling me. Like, whatever.
No, it's awesome. People are cool. I love the constructive criticism. I actually really, really do. For the most part, it's mostly because we talk about a lot of nerdy things, and then like I'll just get, oh well, actually, this movie in DC, it's like really like nerdy stuff that I get like the most feedback from. But I think it's beautiful that people like share how they feel about what we're doing. And I think it's great, And I only know how to be this. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I'm a very energetic person for the most part. I'm like really, really positive, and I don't want to get stuck in that pity party, everything sucks mindset. So I make sure that I stay in this really positive place, and I hope that people vibe with that. Because yeah, things suck sometimes. They do. I'll, we can process that on our own, but if we're going to do this together, like I feel like our podcast, like we're doing this, like we're all in this together, and I say it all the time, and I truly believe that we're not going to be in this together in a negative way. We're coming at this in a beautiful positive way, and we're going to get past this together. We are.
Yeah. And you know what I like is, your energy level, staying there, being energetic is for me, when I'm in that way as well, because I'm not that energetic, my podcast's a little bit more sort of mellow, because that's the kind of person I am. But when I'm not energetic, I notice my deficits more. I notice my
Mm.
my challenges on my left side more. When I'm doing the other stuff that I'm enjoying, when I'm having it out with Joe on the podcast, and we're getting excited and we're talking loud and I'm waving my hands, look, I don't notice all the stuff that's wrong with me, you know. And
Right.
that's kind of why I also like to stay in that space, and that's why, you know, hopefully people listening can understand why it's really important
Yes.
for everyone to be in the space that they want to be, that's good for them. And some people vibrate at a higher energy
Right.
than me.
I hope those people feel what we're putting out, because if I'm excited, if you're excited, that energy, I want people to feel that. This conversation that we're having, when we're sharing the things that we're sharing, I want them to feel that. I want them to feel like, wow, I want to connect with a fellow survivor like that, because I want that feeling. You know, I desperately want that for everybody.
Yeah, and it's heartfelt. So what? There's no better place to come from if you're coming from this place being heartfelt. Heartfelt. Well, we love the feedback, and we love the fact that you can't listen right now. Even that's okay.
Oh, for sure, for sure. You know, and especially like I love constructive feedback, not toxic feedback.
Yeah.
I have a hashtag for 2020. It's 2020 hashtag 2020. Don't be a dick. Like really, because there are people out there who are just in this really negative space, and it takes less energy to be nice and do nothing than it takes to actually really ruin somebody's day with words or actions. You know what I mean? So especially now in the current climate, let's just be kind. We can't lose our humanity. Like let's just be kind and nice. If there's something that you don't like about, like, you know, what you're doing, what I'm doing, cool. Like let's have an adult conversation, you know, and we'll like come up, we'll figure it out together as a community, as a people. But we can't just be mean, gross, disgusting people. Like we just can't.
I hear you, man. Man, that is a beautiful way to end the podcast episode. It has been an amazing pleasure to get to know you a little bit more and to learn about your podcast, The Neuro Nerds. If somebody wanted to find your podcast, connect with you online, where's the best place for them to go?
The best place to follow me is at Joso Rocks everywhere. You can also check out my blog at josorocks.com. You can follow the Neuro Nerds at the Neuro Nerds everywhere, on Facebook, on Instagram. You can also check us out at theneuronerds.com. That's our website. And your favorite podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts, we're there.
Awesome, Joe.
This has been awesome. I appreciate you so much. Like really, I super vibe with you. Like I love your mindset. I love your energy, and I'm really looking forward to, like, you know, conversing more. And I would actually love to have you on the podcast with Lauren and I.
Man, I look forward to doing that, man. I really appreciate the opportunity to share on your podcast to your audience. That's the whole reason why I do this. It's to bring more people to more people. That's it. That's why
Absolutely.
I do it. We can
Absolutely.
do it together.
Keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, keep doing what you're doing. Never let up, because it's nice to know that there's another sick person out there that has the same illness I do. Passion and love for our community. So I appreciate everything that you do and will continue to do. Sincerely, thank you so much. I appreciate this. This has been amazing. It's been great getting to know you.
Discover how to support your recovery after stroke. Go to recoveryafterstroke.com.